All right, guys, what's happening? Captain Cody Davis back here again for another episode here, and I apologize for the lack of content you guys have been seeing here on the channel. Been super busy with work and coming home and taking care of the little one, and let's face it, summertime is here. So when I get off of the water, get done putting him down and stuff, I'm zonked, okay? We've had a ton of days near the triple digits already. The only saving grace is the wind has been blowing constantly. We've had a couple of days where there's no wind, which makes the fishing suck. Then we've had a lot of days where the wind's blowing, which makes the fish bite, but then it blows too hard to where you can't fish where the fish are, near the main lake grass line. It's too muddy, it's too rough, can't keep the boat in place. So it's been a battle out there. The fishing has been good, it's a grind, but it's been good. Catching a lot of really good quality fish. Some fish up shallow, some fish on the outside, some fish are starting to school. So got a lot of stuff going on the lake, which is good. So I've just been busy, and to be honest with you, I don't know when the next time you guys will actually see me catching a fish will be on video. I think me and Kelly have the Roland Martin Marine Series tournament coming up in a couple of weeks, so hopefully we catch enough during that event to make a video. And then really the next video you might see might be like me and Breezy down in the Florida Keys or something, because this is the time of year where we go down there a lot, so you might see us doing a tarpon video, or maybe catching some dolphin or some snapper off a wreck or something. I don't know. We'll see what happens if we get down there for one of my off days or two. So we'll see what's going on there. But the next couple will probably be talking head videos like this, like me sitting at the bar just going over some requested subjects that people have requested that I make videos on, like we're doing today. And there's a couple of things I want to go over as well. So we'll see how many of those videos I make when I have time. But this is one that's kind of funny to me because I don't consider myself dialed in to this particular technique, but I've had more requests to make a video on this bait in the past 2 months than anything. Like people DMing me, people commenting on my YouTube channel, my YouTube videos, customers I've had in the past texting me about it. And weird to me for a couple reasons. One, because I don't consider myself dialed into this technique or this bait. There are people on Lake Okeechobee and in Florida in general that literally every dime they've ever made in tournaments is off of a chatterbait, which is what we're going to be talking about today, vibrating jig. I'm not that guy, but what I have done in the past, really the past year, has kind of done a better job of mixing it into my arsenal and throwing it a lot more. And I think I throw it differently than a lot of other people do. I think I throw it just in different situations. When people might throw something else, I work the bait a little different maybe. So in my videos you guys have seen, I've been, I have been catching a lot of key fish and a lot of fish on a vibrating jig. It's not like I go out and smash them on the jig, on the chatterbait all video, but I'll always catch like a key fish or two in tournaments and things like that. And I have developed a lot of confidence in it. But it's funny because to me, it's a bait that's so easy to have confidence in for me. Now, I hope that doesn't sound ignorant or anything or arrogant, I mean. But, from the first day I ever picked it up years ago, I mean, you throw it out there and you feel that tick into that blade, it feels so cool on the end of the line. To me, you can't help but have confidence in it. And the first time I ever picked it up, I caught fish on it, and it just became like almost an easy bait to throw for me. But I guess that's not the case with a lot of people. I had a guy at the gas station literally 2 days ago come up to me at the gas pump. I'm not some celebrity. I'm not a big rock star or anything. This is a guy that I fish against. Okay, he's I consider him a buddy of mine. And we were talking. He goes, "Dude, you got to make a chatterbait video because I can't stand them things. I can't catch a fish on them." And I was like, okay, that's, I've had a lot of requests about that. For some reason, I almost just kind of ignore them. And then literally got in the boat with my customer idling out of the locks, and a boat yelled to me, "Chatterbait video." And I have no idea who the guy was. I was like, all right, I guess I got to go over how I throw a chatterbait and stuff. And the other funny thing is, when I go into Okeechobee Fishing Headquarters and buy these baits or buy trailers for them, and there's guys that take my money every weekend. I mean, sticks on Lake Okeechobee look at me like I'm taking every one of those and throwing them in the garbage. I can't catch a fish on them. And it's just, to me, it almost doesn't make sense. And I don't know, I'm not considering myself a great chatterbait fisherman, but I do catch fish on it. So I don't know. I've had a lot of requests to make it, so I'm going to talk about it. This one might go a little bit long. I might go a little bit Matt Little and Tim Allen tactical bassing on you guys with this one. So bear with me. If this isn't your type of video, just click off of it. Because I'm going to, I've got, I don't know, kind of a lot to talk about with it, I guess. So we'll see what happens. So first things first, let's talk about the bait. The bait I use is the Z-Man Jackhammer Chatterbait. Now, if you guys remember in a lot of my old videos, I said you're an idiot to buy this. I still believe so. I used to throw the $10 one, never had any issues with it whatsoever. And I had a customer from the Potomac River, which is all they do up there is throw a chatterbait. And he couldn't believe that I did not throw a jackhammer. When he got off the boat, he reached through his bag and threw me 5 of these brand new in the pack and said, have fun with them. Thank me later. I'm not going to thank you later. I believe his name was Scott, if you're watching, because you're an asshole. You've costed me a lot, double the money in chatterbaits over the past couple of months, years, about the past year, because that's how the fishing industry works, guys. How do you think these people? Why do you think these companies give out product in raffles and stuff? Because you take it, you're like, man, I got this free $high bait. I'll never buy another one. You go out there and smash fish with it, and even though you could have thrown the $2 version of that bait, you're going back and you're buying the expensive one because now you have confidence in it, which is exactly what happened with me. I threw the hell out of them. Part of me just felt cool. Like I'd go by people and like get close to them to talk on the water and throw it just so people saw I was throwing a chatterbait, so it looked like I was, or a jackhammer, just so it looked like I was rich. But I won like 2 night tournaments back to back on it, caught a lot of fish guiding on it, a lot of big fish, and now it's what I throw. Do you need to throw this? Absolutely not. Part of me, really all of me, thinks you could throw the $5 one or even the $10 one like I used to and catch just as many fish. But there is a couple of things about this bait that I really do like. One is the head. I'm a big fan of like rounder, compact heads on baits, like my flipping jigs, like the Gambler Jigzilla, right? That was my favorite jig of all time. They stopped making it, but I really like the head design on that. It's opposed to like the pointy, narrower, long, elongated head on the $10 Pro Z or whatever it is. I like the one that has really nice eyes and I just like that shape of that head. This is for me, okay? This caught me, not the fish, the head shape. That and the hook, which we'll talk about why the hook's important to me in a little bit. Other than that, they come in some great colors. Whoop-de-doo, right? Besides all that stuff about it vibrating more and this and that, to me is BS. I don't think it does. And here's the thing I tell people. Why do you need this to vibrate more? What in nature, what we'll talk about, what in Florida, because I fish Lake Okeechobee, but a lot of this stuff I'm going to talk about might work Kissimmee, Harris Chain, things like that. What do you know that these bass feed on and have fed on for millions upon millions of years out here in Florida vibrates like a chatterbait? A bluegill, a shad does not kick and thump like this does. So any vibration at all is already going to key them into the bait, help them find it, be a little bit over exaggerated than anything they're going to naturally eat. No, don't ever buy dogs. So why do you need it to vibrate more? Any vibration at all, they're going to feel it, whether it's, the $6 chatterbait or this one. So the more vibrating, one, I think is BS, and two, I don't think that makes a difference at all how much it vibrates, just as long as it is kicking a little bit. So, so this is what I throw. Now, here's the deal. This color, this is called bruised green pumpkin. What's the 2 most popular colors with a chatterbait? Black and blue and green pumpkin. Talk to Brett Height, the GOAT when it comes to chatterbaits. He's going to tell you, get yourself a green pumpkin or a black and blue chatterbait, and you're going to catch fish wherever you go, and he's right. So why not throw them both in the same color, right? You got black and blue on top, green pumpkin on the bottom, best of both worlds. Bruised green pumpkin, this is what I throw 99% of the time out here on the lake. I like the color. I like the silhouette it gives off. I don't think they get really a good look at it, and it just works great. You're really trying to imitate some kind of bluegill or brim, in my opinion. The other color I'll use, they make like 10 different white colors, and that's what I was using here. And I'll throw a white one if I'm trying to target like a shad spawn, okay? Like on the outside edge, fishing boat lanes, boat cuts, around any points. And I'll work the white ones more like a spinnerbait, kind of buzz it just under the surface, work it very quick. And anything with white in it. This one's got some white and green. I forget what this one's called, but we had a lot of tilapia hatching out on the lake, and they almost turned like a white color. So I was trying to imitate them with this and caught a lot of nice fish on this. So I'll either throw something with a lot of white in it or this one. Trailers, I only use 2. Either the Gambler Komodo, I like that one a lot, or the Yamamoto Zako or Zako, whatever you call it, and just match it to the color. I don't throw a boot tail on my chatterbait because, like I said before, Nothing in nature vibrates and throws that much less is more in the fishing world, in my opinion. There's people that want the most action, the most kick out of their bait. I'm the opposite. I want it to look as natural and seem as natural as possible. So this, this Zaco, these straight tail baits, just give it a little shimmy, and that bait's vibrating and doing so much already. I just want that nice little easy, kick behind it. Looks natural and works great. The Gambler Super Stud, which is like a fluke bait, works great too. I'll throw that in Ghost Shad on the back of a white one a lot. Had a lot of success with that. And that's it. And as far as the setup I use, you're going to hear glass rod, everyone, they're right. Okay, I didn't throw it on a glass rod for a long time. And then when this past, January or February, whenever the Toyota Series was here, Nick Hoyning, a good buddy of mine who ended up getting second in the event, was staying at my house. And he had 2 of these rods on his deck for a chatterbait, and it's the 7.4 heavy glass Arc Invoker Pro. And he's like, yeah, you got to get this. Like, this is, it's the chatterbait rod. You can't beat it for the money and all blah, blah, blah. And I picked it up. I was like, yep, you're right. And I bought one, and it's great. It is awesome. It's sensitive enough. You feel everything that you need to feel. It's got a slow bend, but it's got a lot of backbone, so it's good. It loads up like you want. But when you really load that rod up and reel, you can bring the fish through the grass and all that. So great rod. 7.4 heavy glass, 12 to 25, moderate fast, Arc Invoker Pro. Here's where it's going to get a little different. Some people like throwing theirs on braid. I exclusively throw mine on 20-pound fluorocarbon, no matter what. Braid is great for ripping out of grass, and it is going to rip easier out of the grass. So let's explain. Well, we'll go to that in a second. I throw mine on 20-pound fluoro, and what I'll do with that glass rod is a lot of times when I'm trying to rip it from eelgrass or hydrilla, I'll make the cast. And instead of holding my rod at 2 o'clock, okay, like off to the side, when it gets snagged doing this, I'll hold it Takahiro Amore style, point the rod right at the bait, so there's almost no slack, and kind of just angle the rod down so the rod tip's kind of angling up, and that's where you're getting your little bit of give. But there's no slack, so as soon as it gets hung, when I snatch it, even if it's only gaining me that much slack gone, that's a big deal, and it's able to snatch a lot easier. Now, if you're throwing braid, you can literally just like barely move the rod, and it's gonna pop out easier. But with the fluoro, you feel less, which to me is a big deal. It just hesitates for that split second to let that fish really load up on the bait before you really feel it, and you don't premature swing on the hook set, and you're going to get more bites on fluoro anyway, right? So I throw it on fluoro. The other thing is the technology into these rods and reels and line. We'll talk about the reel real quick. 6 to 1 reel. Okay, I like a little bit slower reel. Helps me keep the bait down in the water. Some people throw it on a 7. Some people throw it on an 8. I throw it on a 6 to 1 or a 6 4 to 1, whatever you want. I like it slower. But anyway, the technology has come so far with the rods and the reels and the line. When you get into a rhythm with this vibrating jig, you get really, really dialed into the rhythm of the bait. So it'll, right? And what'll happen is you get dialed into that feeling, and when those bass rush up from behind it, when they get here, even with fluoro it'll happen, with braid it happened to me a ton, and me and Kelly talked about this. When that fish gets right here, they're coming at it so at full clip, it's almost like drafting, a truck or something. It'll take the water away from the blade of the bait. So you'll be reeling and it'll go and it'll almost just disappear. And when that happens, you're more prone to kind of pull, like, oh, what the hell was that? And what's happening is it's like you're pulling it. Let me do that again. You're pulling it away from the fish. And that sounds crazy, but I'm telling you what happens. And any of these pro chatterbait guys will tell you the same thing. With that fluoro, it's almost like it's late to the party. Okay, well, I don't care what anyone tells you. Fluoro does have some stretch to it, especially with the glass rod and stuff. So like you almost don't feel that happen. It'll almost just kind of you will feel it happen when you get dialed into it, but it's not as obvious. It's so subtle that it's not going to make you react to it, in my opinion. So you feel less. So by the time you feel it, that something's going on, the rod's loading, and that fish has got it, right? Which I like, and you lose less fish, in my opinion. Now, if you're, what's the word? Patient enough. That's not the word I'm looking for. But if you're not educated, not patient. Anyway, I'm looking for words, but it's late and my brain's not working. If you can not react to that changing in that nuance of that blade or that rhythm of that blade and not pull it away from the fish, great for you. I'm not that person, so I like the fluoro. Fluoro, that, I was going to talk about something else. I don't know. Again, guys, my brain is not working. So 20-pound fluoro works great. You feel less, which you feel like would be weird, but it's better in the long run because they're gonna, when they eat this bait, they're gonna eat it. And then with that glass rod, like I said, when they eat it, it's more or less like I don't really set the hook. I just reel fast, and you'll literally see, like you see in my videos, like I'll reel, and when I get that bite, it's almost just like I'll pull really slow and just wind that handle, and that glass rod will just load up on them, and it's in their crunchers or in the roof of their mouth every time, and it's great. Now, going back to the bait, why I said the hook is so important. This hook is great for fluorocarbon. It's strong, but it's not a real thick gauge. It doesn't straighten out. I've never straightened it because I throw it on fluoro. It's sharp as hell, and it gets them. I would not throw this with braid. You will open the hook with braid, especially in Florida. Throwing it around Kissimmee grass, round reed, stuff like that, you will open it. So if you're going to fish braid, if you're like, man, the hell with that guy says, he don't know what he's talking about, which you're right. You fish it on 50 or 60 or 40-pound braid, I'd throw the Pro Z, the $10 one. It's got a much thicker hook in it, and you'd have much better success. So if you're going to throw braid, do not throw the jackhammer. I'm sure there's been a bunch of pros that have said that. And that's really important, but I do like this hook. If you're going to throw it on fluoro, great hook. So that's the setup. That's as far as the size, I only throw a 1/2 ounce out here. If you're out in Harris chain or fishing ledges or a brush pile, they make a 3/4. They make it up to 1.25 ounces, 1.25 ounces, which I've bought and used for snook before. It's a little secret weapon, but if you're using, I only throw a 1/2. I don't throw a 3/8. I just like 1/2. Same thing with my swim jigs. That's that. I've already talked about the trailer. So when I throw a chatterbait, so here's the deal. If you're trying to get confidence in it, my thing to you would be to throw it in the wintertime. Down here, the winter is, that's when it excels. Windy, cool, cold days, when those fish are buried down in submerged grass, hydrilla, eelgrass, things like that, in the wind. That's, to me, when it excels. I've had my best days. Windy, cold, pre-spawn fish that are staging, or even post-spawn fish that are on their way back out, but that are in that submerged grass. Wind really helps, right? So if I'm fishing submerged grass on the Lake Okeechobee and it's slick calm, I'm probably going to throw a gambler burner worm, or I'm going to work a spook very slowly over the top, something like that. But if it's windy and you got a good ripple on the water and you got some water movement, the chatterbait is king. Okay, so the biggest thing, which I tell my customers, and I almost think I'm joking with them, is try to get the bait stuck. Try to get it stuck. If you know the fish are in that grass, throw that bait in there and literally turn the handle slow and let it bog. You want that rod to kind of pull away from you, like, okay, I'm in the grass, and rip it. I mean, snatch that thing as hard as you can and free it from that grass. And what's going to happen is you're going to, oh, he's there, and they're going to clobber it. That is, it looks like, to them, it appears that a brim is ripping out of that grass, spooking. They spook that brim or that shiner or that shad. They don't know. They don't have time to look at it, and they hammer it. It's a reaction bite, right? So a lot of times, what do we know? We know Florida bass do not like cold. They don't like cold water. They don't. So they're down in that grass. They're hunkered down there. They're not in a feeding mode. They really don't want to eat. They don't have to. And that thing rips out by their face. It's a reaction bite. You're getting those fish to react to the bait. That's the biggest thing. Now, if they're feeding, you can do the same thing, but just like a spinnerbait, just nice and, steady retrieve down, and they'll eat it just the same. But try ripping it from the grass and get those fish to react to it. If it's a tough bite, there's no better bait, in my opinion, than the chatterbait. Now, how I've been throwing it a lot in my videos lately, that's when most people throw a chatterbait, and I do throw it that time of year. But how I've had really good success this past spring and into now is throwing this that for fish that are relating to bluegill. Okay, throwing it to fish that are being in like more stained, dirty water, so the vibration helps them find it. And fishing it like a worm, more or less. So a lot of my videos you guys saw, I mean, I'm throwing this bait and I mean crawling it. And I think that was a big thing for me to catching bigger fish with the bait, is when I learned to not overfish this bait. I'll make the cast. So there was an area we were fishing. Shout out to my buddy DJ Timms, who's another great guide down here. Me and him were sharing water for a long time in an area, and we slaughtered them for months on this bait. And what we were doing was, a lot of guys were dragging Sankos and worms, but we were able to cover a little bit more water and fish a little bit faster than them with this, but fishing it almost the same way. Fishing relatively open water, but almost casting around until we ticked something, whether it was a stick, a dead thing of reeds. You'd almost feel it tick something hard, and we'd repeatedly throw the chatterbait at that whatever it was, and literally crawl it almost on the bottom, to the point where you really didn't feel that blade vibrating hardly at all. Every once in a while, you just get a like real subtle, just, I mean, every once in a while shimming, and they would just hammer it. And big fish was the key. And it's really gotten to where I like to throw it like that a lot more. I mean, I really don't feel that blade doing a whole lot of kicking, to be honest with you. I mean, it only takes a little bit, because like I said before, there's nothing in nature that vibrates like this does. So any little bit's going to make them, you know, inquisitive and you know, react to it. So yeah, that's don't be afraid to do that. Everyone's infatuated with feeling that blade vibrating. That's not necessarily the best thing to do. Throwing it around brim beds, literally like almost feathering it over the brim bed, like just almost like a football jig, but a little quicker, so it's just hovering. And what'll happen is every time you hit an actual brim bed, where there's just that little 2-inch depression, or a tilapia bed, that's where that blade will actually kick, because it's in a little deeper water. It'll drag and just, and they'll just load up on it. So you're throwing a bladed bait, but you really don't necessarily need to feel that rhythm of that bait, or that what's the word I'm looking for? Just the rhythm. I can't find that's two words I can't find tonight. But that action of that bait, you really don't need to feel that a lot of the times, and your bigger fish will come a lot of times fishing it slower like that. Again though, I caught them a lot on it when there wasn't any wind, but for the most part, the rule of thumb is, if I'm fishing those open areas like that, if it's calm and slick, I'm going to throw a worm, a swimming worm, like a gambler burner worm. But if there's any wind at all, this is the deal. I guess that's it. You know, I mean, I went 23 minutes on this one, but just don't be afraid to throw it. I mean, but this is like I tell anybody, if you're looking to get dialed into any technique, you got to go out and you just got to bring that particular rod or 2 rods rigged with that bait and make yourselves throw it. But when you do it, like people that want to learn a frog, I say, take 2 frog rods and go through nothing but throw a frog all day. Do not let yourself pick up another rod. Now, don't go do that in January 15th when it's 38 degrees, high pressure, blowing 30 and bluebird skies, and the air temperature is 41 degrees. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's what people do. They pick the wrong day to do it. With this, pick a day where the conditions set up for it. Windy. You know, you could go right now and do it. This isn't really chatterbait time. You might not catch as many fish with it. You might catch bigger, you know, some big ones, but I'd wait till we get some cool weather. Make sure it's windy. You know, wind helps, and just throw it. Throw the damn thing, and it won't take you long, and you will, you know, you'll catch fish on it for sure. 20-pound fluoro, jackhammer. You don't have to spend $20. You can get by with anything else, and pick a color that you have confidence in. I'm a big fan of 2-tone dark colors. I like that dark silhouette. I do much better on this lake with really dark colors for big fish. I've talked about it with my swim jigs. I could fish around boats that are crushing them on like a bluegill colored swim jig. I might get 1/10 of their bites, but I usually get bigger bites on that June bug or that black and blue swim bait or swim jig. Just that darker silhouette in the water. They can't get a detailed look at it. I think these big fish are smart and they just see that silhouette going by them and they got to have it. That's why I'm a big fan of this color, but don't be stupid either. I mean, if there's fish gorging themselves on shad and, you're trying to mix in different baits, don't be afraid of that white one as well. That's about it. Versatile bait. I appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully that answered a lot of your guys' questions. And that's the word I was looking for when I was talking about reeling it and swinging too early. If you're disciplined enough to not premature set the hook, you can use braid. I'm not disciplined in that yet. So I use that word with a lot of my customers with the Big Easy. I say you got to be disciplined when you're reeling that Big Easy and they kamikaze that thing to not swing. Let them pull the slack out of the line, let them have it for a second and set the hook. I need to go to bed. I'll see you guys next time. I appreciate you guys watching. Again, like and subscribe. Book a trip. Okeechobee's fishing great right now. We'll bring like 50 gallons of water for a 4-hour day. And we'll go catch some big ones. Hopefully we'll throw a chatterbait and you can catch your chatterbait fish. So see you guys on the next one. Tight lines.